There couldn't be a better time to jump on and make a video right now. Holy shit. I'm driving right now to the southern Oregon coast. A 4.5 hour drive from where I live. Time to pass some people. But there was something I was thinking about on the drive here. I've been thinking about it for a couple weeks actually. And I thought it'd be something good to comment on. I'll just say I'll start it off by saying I was sitting on my patio just reflecting on life and where I've been and where I'm going and, you know, some changes I'm making. And in doing so, I kind of caught myself trying to solve a few problems. One practically was, what's my next move if I'm leaving brokerage? But this underlying thought or worry I was having was about the uncertainty of what that next move is. And then it dawned on me that the life I want, the life I'm trying to create, and maybe you can relate to this if you want to work independently or be self-employed, requires me to sit with the discomfort I was feeling, I was experiencing. I've had so many jobs my entire life that I got used to being an employee. I got used to thinking in terms of what position I was going to occupy, and that it wasn't right, something was wrong if I wasn't holding some sort of title, right? So I guess it occurred to me that sitting with that uncertainty and that discomfort and accepting that, not as a problem to be solved, but as a skill to learn, something, a feeling to endure, a discomfort to endure, is a skill in itself. Because that's what it requires if you want to build something that's truly yours. You have to sit with that. You have to be okay with not knowing and with having that uncertainty. And while you might establish some sort of business that's long-term, eventually, there are going to be a lot of times along the way where you need to pivot because it didn't work out for whatever reason. And I was recalling a time where, you know, I guess it would have been like 1.5 years ago now, a friend of mine said, "Oh, it seems like you finally found a career or a job that is something you enjoy or that's suitable for you," or something like that. 1 second, I have to check the maps. So as I was saying, my buddy made this statement, and then it occurred to me that the majority of people, unless they are wanting to be self-employed or start their own business or their own venture of some sort, are going to think like that in terms of like a permanence. I found a position, I found a job, I found a vocation. And I just kind of laughed and told them no. In fact, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I knew this wasn't for me long-term to begin with. But there's no regrets. It's just a part of the process. It's a part of where I'm at and what I'm learning and the skills I'm just going to be adding to my toolbox, if you will. No regrets. I've learned a lot from brokerage, and I'm going to carry that with me to the next venture. And I guess that's something to think about if you're wanting to be self-employed or wanting to start a business, is you're going to have to get used to the discomfort and the uncertainty and not knowing if something's going to work or not, because it's not just going to reveal itself like a job will in the form of a paycheck every couple weeks or every month. Let me see. Sorry, I'm distracted. I got traffic all around me right now, but this guy gonna be an asshole? Let me in. Good job. Good job. I took some notes because I'm so ADHD and I'm driving right now. some bullet points of some so it's important to pivot when necessary. And as I've stated previously, I knew brokerage wasn't right for me. I want equity in what I'm building, what I own. I don't want to lease out my business. And I think a lot of people forget that America started from those who were self-sufficient, who had their own thing. There wasn't always a corporation or these massive companies that would provide jobs. So I think we've forgotten that over time, and it's been programmed into us to just be workers instead of taking risks and really living the life you want to live, which comes with trade-offs, which comes with risk and uncertainty. And I think even those who have a job, who have a career in whatever position, need to it's healthy for them to remind themselves too that job is just a vessel. It's just a means to get to your goals, which I think everyone can relate with. It doesn't really matter if you're staying at that job, because you're not promised to have that job or keep it in the future anyway. Mine, to begin with, was to continue stacking cash and to pour that into investments, specifically real estate investment properties, which I had hoped to acquire sooner than I have, which I still haven't. But I've also realized I need to trust the process. I need to be patient, which I want to make another video on patience at some point. But yes, your job's a vessel. Your job's not who you are. It's not what's ultimately going to bring you that meaning in life, at least for the majority of people. Maybe for some people, they get lucky enough, or they've found themselves in an occupation that truly is their passion. But I've had to realize or recognize that my passions lie far outside of what's easily monetizable, right? So I'm trying to create my job, my occupation, whatever that is, even if it's transitory. I'm trying to find the right words for it. It's difficult, but I know the life I want at this point. It took me some years to figure out what that was, to find that vision, to find that goal. I have so many interests and so many ideas that I've had to sift through all of them. It's been challenging to just pinpoint exactly what that is. But now I have that direction, and I've realized, sitting on my patio, like I was saying earlier, and feeling that uncertainty as if that was a problem, I've realized that is part of what's necessary to build the life I want. That uncertainty is going to be part of it. It's fundamentally a part of it. It's not a problem. It's nothing to be solved. So if you're feeling that uncertainty and that discomfort, recognize that's coming from your previous programming, the previous scripts that you have grown up with, being an employee. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I've had, over 30 different jobs. And I've also had to accept that most of my friends and family are never going to get that. And you're going to have to get used to being and feeling like kind of an outsider. And accept that's the trade-off. That's part of what the trade-off is. You don't get the certainty that the employee has. You don't get the acceptance that the person who has this established career has. You're going to have to just embrace that, and as the trade-off for the life you actually want, the life you want to live and build. The job's the vessel. It really is about the journey. It's not about the destination. Because it is on that journey that you grow and you become who you are. And that is what brings the meaning to life, I think. So I really badly want to share what I've been contemplating as far as my next move, but I don't want to, not yet. I think it has a way of ruining the forward momentum. And on that note, I'd recommend you keep your goals and your dreams to yourself. Don't share them with your friends and family, because they won't get it, and they will unknowingly, or even perhaps knowingly, project their fears and doubts and uncertainties onto you. Part of it is just their own programming. It's going to try to rub off on you. It's going to be not compatible. And I guess I'll share a story with that, right? Whenever I talk to someone about work, they talk about their job and something that's been bothering them. I can only relate to it from my own perspective, which for me, my job has always been a means to an end, to get further to my goals. It's never been the goal. I'm going to become this, I'm going to become that. It's a stepping stone to where I want to be. And so I have a tendency to speak from that perspective, and I have to be honest about it. The flaws of being an employee, how the system is built for investors and for business owners, not for employees, ultimately. That you're not really going to get where you want to be, where a lot of people want to be in 2026, being a wage slave. And terms like that tend to offend people. And in this particular case, it was someone very close to me. He starts saying things that are basically, he basically asked me what my plan was after brokerage. And I essentially said, I have a few ideas, but ultimately it doesn't matter what those ideas are, so long as they allow me to retain the independence and the autonomy that I've enjoyed with brokerage. That's the ultimate goal, is to have that freedom and keep doing that. And he basically said, yeah, you and everyone else. It was a very dismissive statement. And whether or not I don't think he consciously meant any harm by it, but it was so dismissive that it made me realize it was pointless to even respond to the question, because it was disingenuous. It wasn't coming from a place of exploration, of curiosity, of wanting to solve that problem with me for himself, to learn from one another. It was coming from a place of fear, of resentment, of feeling stuck in his own job, which he later revealed to me. And I had to kind of just I had to kind of bite my tongue and say, see, it had nothing to do with what I was saying, because he wanted to put it on me and say, well, you said people who have jobs are sheep and all this stuff. I admit I can be abrasive when I talk about certain things. But if you're so secure with your job and where you're at, why would that bother you? You know, so when I share what I'm doing and then someone puts me down for it, of course I'm going to be bothered by that. You asked me to share what it is and what I'm doing, and then you shit on it. But when I speak in general about what it means to be an employee in 2026, and then the person I'm talking to internalizes that, oh, they must be talking about me, and gets mad about it, I think it just validates my point even further that people, by and large, are very dissatisfied with their jobs. Most people hate their jobs. So if I'm going to feel that dissatisfaction while not earning a very good wage, some people might be. In fact, I know quite a few people who are not very satisfied with their job, but they can justify it a little easier because they're earning well into the six figures, right? I wasn't. So I'd rather experience this uncertainty and this anxiety while I'm learning and growing as the trade-off, because it's going to serve me, it's going to compound long-term much better than staying at a shit company who doesn't give a shit, doesn't care. So be careful about sharing your ideology, your goals, your dreams with people who aren't going to respond positively to it. They're just going to shit on you, and it's going to plant seeds of fear and doubt in you, and it's just going to hinder your progress. Just stay focused. Keep to yourself and be selective with who you choose to share those things with. Can't wait to get to the coast. Learn some kiteboarding, something I've wanted to learn for, well over a decade. And I'm not getting any younger, so I decided to say fuck it and, excuse my French, going to Langlois. And I'm going to try it. And I think it should be a blast. We'll see. That being said, until next time.